So I'm in New York City right now, and before we hop into today's video, I just want to let you know I'm going to be running a completely free event right out here in New York City. If you want to come, just click the link below, and in the meantime, enjoy today's video. So what I want to talk to you guys about is the social trance that you're in, and I believe that there's a lot of different areas that are valuable to cover, like step-by-step practical stuff on how to make cash, step-by-step practical stuff on social skills, step-by-step practical stuff on things like meditation. But I believe that past that, we need to take a second and actually audit the trance that we're in, okay? We are actively in a trance, and understand that to some degree, the government, the elites, they actually have a huge amount of influence on the trance that we're in. And I'm gonna give you some proper professional resources before I dump claims like that. I would urge you to look up Mike Benz, okay? Look up Mike Benz, Mikebenz, just to look up his discussion on things like censorship, things like the trance that we're in, the government, what the government does to control the masses. It's pretty unbelievable stuff. He's a uniquely qualified person who used to be in the State Department, was a speechwriter for Donald Trump. You could hate Trump, but still look him up. I don't care what your political opinion is, just look him up. Now, from there, I'd also recommend that you look up The Century of the Self by Adam Curtis, okay? The Century of the Self by Adam Curtis. And basically what you learn from those two different sources, there's many others, this is the tip of a huge rabbit hole, is you start to get a sense of, wait a minute, maybe I am in sort of a trance, and I should actually start thinking about what kind of trance it is that I'm in. What kind of trance am I in? And in Century of the Self, what they'll talk about is, rather than, this would be the very compressed, short, not doing it justice version. Basically, when they realized that once you own a vacuum, a pair of shoes, boots, a jacket, a fridge, a laundry machine, demand for economic goods winds up running out. You're not gonna wanna buy anything anymore. So how, like for me, believe it or not, I own about $2 million or something like that in jackets, okay? Like I have entire giant closets filled with jackets that are like $5,000, $10,000, rows upon rows upon rows. I don't even know how many jackets I have, right? I don't know how much jewelry I have. I don't understand how many shirts that I have. I have closets full of shirts that are like, $1,200, $800, or more, and just loose on the ground like it's just a bunch of crap. And the reason why is because I myself, particularly in my later 30s, when I was building my business, I was happy with the direction of my business. I was having a lot of parties, great dating life, great social life, having fun, but I was dissatisfied in certain ways. And so the way that I would vent that dissatisfaction, I'd just go to Rodeo Drive, shop. And then I felt as though I was somehow, some way, becoming the fullest version of myself. Like, oh, when I get this next Dolce & Gabbana jacket with, it's in maroon and it has this kind of weird embroidery in it, finally I will know who I am, right? I don't think of it like that, but I would do it. Now, by the way, side point too, whenever I would buy one of those jackets, like say a 5 or 10K jacket, how long do you think the dopamine rush of buying the jacket would last?
1 day.
Not even a day, it's about a minute. The second you buy it, it's literally like pulling a Kleenex out of a Kleenex thing. All you're thinking is, I want the next jacket. I want the next jacket. You're never actually satisfied. Some people might feel that way in their dating life. And likewise, a lot of people also have that with trauma. Like you get rid of one trauma, you process it, boom, another one comes up. You ever had that feeling? Like you let something go and then another one comes up? That is related with the trance that you're in. So what they'll explain in Century of the Self is that people stop defining themselves by their moral character, maybe where they stand in their community, and they'd stop defining themselves by, the actions they take or family or things like that, and they began to define themselves via their consumer choices. And, what do you do for work? What do you wear? The movie Fight Club addresses this extensively. It's actually a book by Chuck Palahniuk, but the movie's amazing, so I'd recommend watching that as well. Watch Century of the Self. Now that is a version of, I guess what you might call like toxic individualism. I don't like the word toxic these days, but you take my point. Now let's look at the other side of that equation. Look at Japan during World War II, where in effect what happened was, and I'm probably messing this up slightly, but I've studied a lot of Japanese history and World War II history. Basically what happened was that they told the people of Japan, the emperor is a living god and you should die for the emperor. And so what wound up happening was that people literally believed in World War II that they could just go die for the emperor. And it was so much collectivism, it was so crazy that, and again, I would never believe in dropping a nuclear bomb ever for any reason. But the main reason that it was justified was that the Americans realized that the Japanese will fight to the last man. The last kid will be hitting you with a ruler or try to bite your ankle. The woman will be trying to, hit you with a broom. Like they had this fear that if they would actually just go in to fight mainland Japan, that they'd wind up having to wipe out the entire island, because that wound up happening on the smaller islands like Iwo Jima as they were leading up to it. So there was extreme versions of collectivism that were happening in Japan. And funny enough, there's a movie called Godzilla Minus One, where basically what they show there is it was meant to be sort of like a healing moment from what happened in World War II, where they've got to go, it was like an Oscar caliber, black and white modern day version of Godzilla. And they decide they're going to go kill Godzilla. And they're like, we will die to kill Godzilla. We will die to save Japan. And they said, no, wait. We're going to kill Godzilla and we're going to live. We're going to put ejector seats in the planes. And that's meant to be a moment of social conditioning of we're not just going to give away our lives for the collective anymore. We actually have an individuality. So that was progression for them. Whereas in America, you could barely get somebody to tell you what time it is when they're looking at their phone, right? So you have extreme version individualism, extreme version collectivism. Now, in this extreme version of individualism, basically what you have is a reality where when you walk down the street, you ask someone for directions, oftentimes they look annoyed at you. You ever see this? They often look annoyed at you. So imagine the old school version of the town square. And I've seen things like this in the third world. I've traveled to the third world. And I've been to Africa, I've been all over Mexico, I've been all over South America. And what you'd see in certain places, in Mexico, for example, is there's a place called a Zocalo. And it's a real town square. And people go out there and they're playing hacky sack. Old people are playing around with younger people. People are chatting. It's not all about who's, more pretty or handsome or whatever. It's like people just talking with people. I like to do things like this. For example, there's a banya in LA where it's mostly older people. And, there's Voda Spa in LA, which is sort of like the Justin Bieber spa where all the fancy people go. And I used to go there. But I started going to this other banya where it's mostly older people because I want to actually chat with older people who have no agenda, who are not there chasing for clout. It's a nice thing to just be able to go out and just talk to people. Keanu Reeves, they have all these shots of him just going out and talking to regular people and having fun just talking to regular people. It's not all about clout. That is a healthier way to live, still being aware of social dynamics, still being aware of status dynamics, but and applying them in appropriate settings. But also having a thing in you that just likes to talk to people, just to talk to people, that's a very healing thing for human beings. And it allows a cohesiveness where people live longer, like people live longer lives. They're healthier. They have a longer, not just lifespan, but a longer health span. You ever heard of that expression, health span? Okay, so if you go to places like Sardinia, there's a very, very long health span. And part of that is, the food they eat and whatnot. It's not all the pesticides, but part of it is also that people talk to each other. They actually connect with each other. But we're in a society where the trance is very, very much based on individualism. And as a result of that, the consumer base has been softened up for consumer culture to be incredible consumers. Imagine someone who's just utterly in a transactional, selfish state of mind, completely, utterly self-obsessed, to the point that most people even lack social skills. They literally lack social skills because they can't even get out of their own head for 2 minutes to think about what somebody else would want, okay? So you largely have a population that lacks social skills and lacks business skills because, ironically, the more obsessed that you are with yourself, the less good that you are socially and the less good that you are at business. It's a really, really crazy thing. So what winds up happening is when you finally pull out of that completely self-obsessed trance, by the way, look up again, Mike Benz, Century of the Self. You can start to see how this is engineered. Okay, this is engineered. You can look up Noam Chomsky. I believe it was called Manufacturing Consent. Did I get that right? I saw that a long time ago. But basically, he's a leftist. I disagree with many of his opinions staunchly. But nonetheless, you can look up people that just look up anything. Look up anything that helps you to understand the trance that you're in. Also, I'd recommend that you watch Netflix. Highly recommend. Watch Netflix, World War II Greatest Events in Color, and on Netflix also World War II Road to Victory. Those will show you in color restored footage of World War II, and you will learn about the madness of crowds in ways that you can't imagine when you see that, because it is really, really freaky to look at World War II. Something like a blitzkrieg, you actually see the German people that are largely a very intelligent people on meth. They're almost all of them are on meth, and they're just bum rushing into France. You ever see that movie Dunkirk, where it's by the new one by Chris Nolan that came out a few years ago, and I think 2017 or so, maybe 2018. And what happened was you see the British people are having to send civilian boats along with army boats across the channel to go pick up a huge amount of British soldiers as well as European soldiers because the Nazis have actually surrounded them onto this one beach at Dunkirk. And what happened there was in World War I, the fighting between France and Germany, like it went on a long time. If I got that correctly, it went on a long time. But it was something like only a couple days to bum rush everybody into that beach on Dunkirk where they were cornered because everybody was on meth. The German people were on meth, basically like in a satanic devil trance on fucking meth, and basically just went nuts, right? So that is, in effect, a trance, right? The Vikings also were in a trance. They believed that they would go to Valhalla if they fought the right way and then fought until the death. And then they would fight forever. So all of a sudden, the people in Britain are being invaded by these people who literally are not afraid to die at all, going berserk. Also probably a satanic trance, for being honest. And what happened was it just affected the way that people acted, right? So you can see how in some places, individuals can benefit from a certain trance. In other environments, collectives benefit from a certain trance, right? Like the individual Viking probably didn't benefit from believing that he would go to Valhalla when he just goes on some crazy berserker rampage into a British village. But it did make the Vikings win for a long time. Create a heck of a win streak, right? Where like you're some British person, like who are these like satanic psychos coming from across the sea, running in here fearless, or not afraid to die? They're in a berserker rage, right? To be fair, maybe that did help them individually, also because maybe they would win, right? So it kind of depends. The Japanese might be better, or actually were better fighters. They actually viewed Americans as soft. They viewed Americans as soft because Americans had an individual will and they're afraid to die. Japanese viewed themselves as gangster hardcore, and they were, because of the fact that they were willing to die for their emperor, right? So they actually believed they could outlast America because they were too selfish. Okay, now, again, I'm not a historian, so look this up to get the exact details. I've got the rough details here, pretty good details, but, might have goofed up a thing or two. Now, understand that this is basically a trance, okay? These are trance states. So then what you have to say to yourself is, okay, well, if trance states exist, and if trance states are being manufactured, what kind of trance state am I in? Now, one great one to look up is the Milgram experiment. Who here has seen the Milgram experiment? Okay, so the Milgram experiment is very, very shocking. After World War II, they wanted to figure out how the Germans would commit these atrocities in the Holocaust. And so what they would do is they do an experiment where they would bring up random people, and a guy in a white lab coat would say, hey, we're going to electrocute this guy who's strapped to the chair. And, he's going to scream, he's going to cry, but don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Just keep turning up the electricity. He's faking. And just because a guy in a lab coat would say, turn up the electricity, the guy in the room would be like, I'm dying, please help me, like screaming in torture. And then the guy would be like, I think we shouldn't do this anymore. And then the white lab coat guy would be like, no, just keep going, keep going. And it was some huge percentage of people that would just do it. So it showed you the kind of atrocities that would happen, okay? Now, this is what you're basically dealing with in modern society today. So in other words, what's happening is, and I'll go a little bit deeper about the elites and the masses dynamic here. Remind me too if I forget, because that's a vital piece of this. But in effect, what you have is, look up Century of the Self. People are in this highly egocentric state of mind. Now, one way that I'd recommend that you think about this is the following. Imagine that you have a spiritual part of yourself, a physical part of yourself, like your body, and the ego. So whenever we look at things like, say, hypergamy, you guys know about hypergamy, right? Basically say that, like, someone's going for the most high value mate that they can get, okay? Once you understand hypergamy, you understand how to go out to any social gathering and smash it. I mean, any social gathering and smash it. All you have to do to take advantage of hypergamy is loud voice, shifts in cadence, shifts in tone, dominant vocal tone, piercing strong eye contact, loose, relaxed body language, the capacity to free associate, talk, and talk, understanding of frame control, and you will crush it. You go out, you will annihilate. I mean, you will do things, you will walk on water, you will be like Neo in the Matrix, doing things out socially that you never, ever thought you could do. You will get results that are so obnoxious, you're like, This can't be happening. You could be 5'4", you could be a complete loser, and if you just take on the right behavior and the right frame control, you'll crush it. That's hypergamy, right? Now, we look at hypergamy and we say to ourselves, oh, okay, so it's biological, they like the alpha. But why don't we think for a minute, is there perhaps a trance that we're in today that is maybe extinguishing the soul part of the person that you're talking to where all that's left is the physical intelligence that just chases clout, that just goes for value, that just goes for stimulus. Look, I'm 44. I can tell you, it wasn't like this 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, yeah, you know, being alpha and all that kind of stuff, it definitely was huge. It helped a lot. But it wasn't like today where it's just absolute winner take all. Like, there's no middle class left. It's either all or nothing. You either get everybody or you get nobody. There's no middle class left, right? Like, the day of like the mid guy, the sun set on the mid guy about 10 years ago. If you're a dude and you're a mid, the sun has set on you, right? Like, if you're a mid guy, like you're a 6, there's not like a 6 waiting for you, that's 22, 23 waiting for you. That is done, okay? So what happened to where, like, what about just the day of just like one human soul relating to another human soul? Like, hey, we have a lot in common. We're on the same wavelength. We connect. We have a real connection. Like, when did connection and soul-to-soul interaction become so devalued? And what you really saw is in the era of social media, you have seen this accelerate dramatically. As a result of this, you absolutely have to understand social skills. You will not get by just meeting people randomly who you have a connection with. Out of a whole room of very cool people in here, how many of you just completely being average, like not using your voice, your eye contact, but just being like kind of more like this. Hey, what's up? Cool, yeah. Like, just kind of normal, like just normal. How many of you have like gotten into like a relationship with someone who you're really into just like that? Not a single person in the room. And this is a room of better people than average. This is a far better than average room. Far better than average room. And not a single person in here has been able to just be like, hey, what's up? Like, cool, and just connect and have it go anywhere. Because the day of the mid guy is done. Right? Back in the day, you're a mid guy, and you could get a mid-significant other, like you had that. And look, I really believe that ultimately the better version of you is the real you anyway, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, if you're somebody who does not understand things like clout, status, hypergamy, things like that, just socially, it is a rough era these days. I mean, you're seeing like the bottom third of men completely opting out of making money, out of dating. I mean, there's a real crisis. Things are a mess right now. It is complete, utter insanity what is happening in the world right now, okay? Because the world is getting more and more selfish. People are now able to look through Instagram and, you know, see prospective mates, and they're like, well, I want that one. And it's like, yo, just because they're on Instagram doesn't mean they're going to marry you. And even if they hook up with you doesn't mean they're going to marry you. But they think that. And that becomes a new level of dopamine and stimulus they're used to. So people now are basically, we're getting below the birth rate at this point, replacement birth rate. And the reason why that's happening is, again, the trance, right? That would be called a population trance, right? Where, you know, people at the top are a little bit worried about population, you know, because the environment. And as a result of that, as a result of that, I'm an environmentalist, but like it's just funny how they take things that are beautiful and real and they apply it for their own ends. And so as a result of that, the population's going down. World's not going to get overpopulated. The population's going to go down because everyone's so selfish that they're waiting for the best, but the best won't marry them and raise kids. So we're not going to have population replacement. It's crazy, right? So now all of a sudden you see all these old school guys that were like, get out there and date. Now we're like, build families, have kids, quick. Like, it's like a bizarre reversal of these like funny characters from 10 years ago. They're like, have children, have families, raise your kids, you know, right? It's an emergency. So, you know, otherwise society's going to have a lot of trouble. So, let's keep going down the rabbit hole. So you have things like the trance that can tinker with population, the trance that tinkers with collectivism, the trance that tinkers with individualism. But notice at the end of the day, a small group of people benefit. Whether that is a small group of people in Japan that can use collectivism as a way to achieve their outcome, or people in America that can use toxic individualism in order to achieve their outcome that they want. So they can put the population to sleep one way or the other, make them obsessed with themselves, or make them not even have a self. Ha ha ha. But disconnecting them from their authentic self, disconnecting them from their infinite self. You see what's happening here? That's what's going on. So do some research about the state of mind that you're in, the trance that you're in. And this is huge, okay? Once you understand this, this will unleash a torrent of inner game growth. Your inner game will explode once you understand this stuff. It will explode. Here's why. In effect, what will happen is you're in like the super, super, super selfish trance. And then what happens is you go out to meet people and you're so self-obsessed that what winds up happening is you're afraid to go talk to anybody because you care about their reaction to you. Then you don't even know how to calibrate to them to meet them where they're at and provide value to them because you've been obsessed with yourself so long. What you want, you don't even know what they want. You're too tightly wound to be able to free associate. The main reason you can't free associate is you're obsessed with yourself. For me doing free associative public speaking like this, what am I doing? I'm obsessed with you. I'm trying to get information to you. I'm trying to relate to you. My focus, my trance that I'm in right now is not one of being stuck in my own head. In fact, I'm merging into the group. I am connecting to you deeply in your head, and then I'm relating right into the center of your brain like the X-Wing in Star Wars, flying in the middle of the Death Star and going boom right in the middle of your brain. Do you feel like I'm deeply, deeply, deeply inside your mind right now? Put your hand up if you feel like I'm like more inside your head than maybe any speaker you've ever seen in your freaking life. I'm right in the middle of your head. I will not let you disassociate. I will not allow you to zone out. I will not allow you to just daydream. Do you guys feel that? Yeah. You ever notice that if you're watching my videos, you can watch them for 4 or 5 hours, but it's hard to pay attention for 5 minutes on speaker? That's because I'm in your head. I'm in your head. I'm connected to you. If I make this about me, my voice goes quiet. My free association goes down. I need a PowerPoint all of a sudden. Ums and ahs become very, very, very dominant. I put a kink in the hose. As long as I'm thinking about you and helping you, my public speaking will not be burdened by self-consciousness. This speech is not about me and me looking cool. This speech is about you and your understanding, expansion, and growth. That is why I'm not up here stuck in my head, thinking of how I look, worried of what you think of me. I'm just here to give. What does that do to my power as a speaker, or when I go out tonight to hit up Broadway Street, what does that do for me when I'm in that kind of a trance? Think about it. So we want to learn public speaking. And look, I love what Toastmasters does, but like, let's go to Toastmasters, get a PowerPoint, and learn public speaking. Change your trance. Why can my son Dylan come in here and run the entire event when he's never properly been taught public speaking? Because he has gotten the trance from daddy. I gave him the trance. I don't need to give Dylan money. I don't need to give Dylan anything. All I have to do to raise my kids is I have to not have trauma, I have to be in the correct trance, and then I have to be a living role model. Did you guys listen to anything your parents ever told you? I didn't. Your parents like, don't do this. What did you do as soon as they told you not to do it? You did it. You went and did it. You didn't do anything your parents told you. I'm not going to try to tell my kids what to do. You go try to tell Dylan or Tristan what to do. Good luck. They're going to do the exact opposite of what you tell them to do. No matter what I tell them to do, okay? You know, like eat all that candy. No, I'm not eating candy. Stay up late. No, I'm not staying up late. Okay, I'm going to bed. I have a big day tomorrow, Dad. Like, literally, that's what they're like. So, like, I couldn't even make this up. So, I can't teach my kids in any way, shape, or form by telling them things. I can't. What I can do is I can take them around the world. I can bring them up on stages, and I can have them around me. So, if you want to be a great father or mother someday, work on your psychology. Work on your trauma. It's the power of osmosis. Look, even being here, are you guys picking up on some of the trance that I'm in? You're noticing that your trance is shifting? Feeling that? Well, your kids are gonna get that from you. So work on that very, very hard before you have kids, okay? Don't be afraid to have kids. Raising kids is so easy. It's not even that expensive. It's the easiest thing in the world. I never raised my kids. Why would I raise my kids? You don't need to, your kids will raise themselves. You don't need to raise your kids. You need to be a role model for your kids and let them observe you. Your kids, when did your parents trying to raise you, AKA tell you what to do, ever work? None of it worked. What is it that you got from your parents? What you observed. If they had trauma, you have trauma. You live with their trauma. That's what you learned in self-help. It's always the fucking parents. It's always the fucking parents. Someone's all fucked up. What'd mom and dad do? right? When you were vulnerable and you're innocent. If all that you do is you keep your kids laughing all the time, traveling all the time, and having fun all the time, what's gonna happen? They're in an amazing trance. I can create an environment here in this seminar with such an uplifting, heavenly type trance, and then you say to yourself, how come all society can't be like that? Why can't all society be like this pocket bubble in the seminar room? Because in this room, I control the trance. I dictate the pace. I dictate the energy. So you guys are feeding from my energy because I'm leading the room, right? Outside this room, I can't. But auto training with me, whether out in the field or here, I can lead the energy. So as a result of that, you guys will feed off of my energy. Well, if that's the case, if I can do this in a room, what can society do to you? Get it? But the main key is you're being trolled. You're being trolled. You're actively being trolled by society. Society's telling you, you're not an infinite being. You're not more than this. You are your shirt. You are your brand association. You are your job. You are your whatever. Like they say in Fight Club, the things that you owed wind up owning you. So you're in a trance. You're being actively trolled. Do you understand that? Okay, when they told the Japanese people that the emperor was a living god that they should go do a kamikaze mission for, they were being mega trolled. What is trolling? A troll is somebody on the internet who pokes at someone's nerves to get them to freak out, get them to do things they wouldn't normally do, and get them reactive. If I can get you to believe that my cameraman is a living god and that you should go kamikaze yourself, how bad am I trolling you? If I can get you to take meth and go on a blitzkrieg, how bad am I trolling you? It's mega trolling. Just say the word mega trolling. Mega trolling. Okay? So everything that you're seeing is you being trolled. Okay? Like a basketball game, right? You pay like $500, you go to a basketball game, you cheer for the basketball players. You know, they put in all these stands and seats, they put bright lights on it. It's the same game that you'd see at the basketball thing at the corner, but with better players. But you said that you believe that the team is you, it's your team, your testosterone goes up or down based on that team's success. They've proven this. You cheer, you make it a big deal. They're trolling you. They're getting you to pay like $500 to go look at a bunch of guys playing basketball. They're trolling you. You know what I realized? I was on a bus with a pro surfer in Hawaii when I used to live in Hawaii, and an old school pro surfer said, we convinced the world that jumping on a wooden plank and going on a wave was cool. That's what it was, right? I was able to convince the world that going out 4 to 7 nights a week was cool. And people base their whole life on that. I happen to believe it's cool. I convince you guys, I'm trolling you guys right now. I'm trolling you to sit here and just listen to me rant. I've got you all sitting here, just like the NBA. The lights are on. I'm just fucking yelling, talking shit. Who knows if it's even good or not? Maybe I'm fucking moron. Maybe I'm meth right now. I kind of look like I'm ready for the blitzkrieg, right? The meth crag, right? I look like I'm on fucking meth. I sit here with a giant beard in a wheelchair screaming, and you sit there going, genius, genius, genius. I'm trolling you. You understand? I'm actively fucking trolling you. Do you understand? I make you watch my videos. I'm trolling you. Just happens to be some damn good trolling, right? The #1 trolls in the world, hot women, okay? Put on war paint on their face, blow their hair out, push up bra. Yeah, I might be bleeding out of here and peeing out of here, but lick it. You're like, oh yeah, oh, it feels so good. Yeah, lick it. Lick the fish pie. Lick it. Lick it. Now risk infection and pregnancy by pumping it. Oh. And your friend's like, high five, bro. You got trolled. Okay? You got trolled. Luxury goods, right? Go buy an expensive watch. Look at this here. Show me your watch. Come here. Bring your watch over here. Okay. All right, check this out. Okay, how much is this watch? This is a very nice watch, I like it a lot. Very nice watch. You're a young man. How old are you? 25. 25. Great watch for a 25-year-old man. How much you pay for this?
About 400.
400? 50,000. 400? You gonna zoom in on this baby? 400? 50,000. Okay? Which one is which? Which one's 400? Which one's 50,000? Which one? It's the same watch. You got trolled. Okay? Trolled. Okay? They troll you. They make you have 4 different appointments. They make you ooh and ah over it. They make you write an essay to say the history of the watch, how much you like it. Then you get this exact same watch, but you pay 50 grand. You got trolled, baby. I got trolled. Okay, but I got trolled by the best. If you're gonna get trolled by the best, right? You know, we're all trolled 24/7. You know, might as well be an attractive woman, might as well be AP, might as well be a balding ginger trolling you. Why not, right? Now, when I say trolled, in effect, what I mean is we're rarely living at base reality, right? We're always in some kind of a trance. You ever have your significant other just starts complaining and getting mad, and then you become reactive and start arguing with them? She's trolling you. He's trolling you. That's all it is. You're like, yo, bro. You guys are laughing, right? She trolling you, bro. She trolling you, bro. Admit it. You're trolling this motherfucker. You trolled him. Admit it, right? Admit it. You're trolling him, right? It's like, I'm in a mood. I had to make some drama. I don't like the flowers. Right? You're like, no, baby, no. Yes, man, no, yes, and now like the fish pie, I forgive you. Yes, oh, yeah. Inside, baby, inside. Oh, God, okay? You're being trolled. Like, it's like, even to think about things like, I don't know, like old school models that are super skinny and tall. Is that even the hottest girl? A tall giraffe? You're gonna bang a tarantula? Why don't you just bang a real tarantula? Why don't you just bang a giraffe? Like some tall woman, that's viewed as a standard of beauty. You're being trolled. You see where I'm going with this? You're being trolled. Look, even things like rap, which is a great art form. You know, just some guy at the front like Travis Scott. Travis Scott is so brain dead. They interviewed him and they said, where'd you get your name from? He's like, my favorite uncle, his name is Travis. Because his real name is Jack something, right? Or whatever his name is. And my favorite rapper is Kid Cudi. And his real name is Scott Cudi. So, yeah, okay? That guy is so out of his head, he can barely form a sentence. That's why he's had sex with so many women, banged Kylie Jenner. Of course, like, he doesn't even remember. Guys, I would meet women out that had threesomes and orgies with Travis Scott while he's with Kylie, okay? It's just all the time. You go out, you'll meet women that Travis hooked up with, okay? Like, go out tonight, be like, you ever hooked up with Travis? If she's real hot? Like, yeah, okay? And Travis can barely form a sentence. You want to talk a trance? Go watch the, I think it's on Apple TV or whatever. Watch the Travis Scott documentary. That dude, he's just in a state pumping trance. Just like, yeah, what, yeah. And he just, bah, 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 bah. What, yeah. It's probably a little John. Yeah. I'm Travis. What's your name? Kylie. Don't know you. Take care of my kid. Yeah. Right? You notice how even as I'm doing this, you're going in trance? Yeah. Right? I could have been a great rapper. Okay? Yeah. Just do that with me. Show how it feels. Yeah. Do it. Yeah. What? Yeah. Look what it's doing. Okay, boss. How do you feel right now? Awesome. How do you feel? Turn, amazing, awesome. You feel awesome? You feel amazing? You know the girls just want to keep doing it. They're like, yeah, this is the best part of the seminar, right? Okay? So, okay. See, like the girls are like kind of crawling up here. I'm like, what are you doing now? Go back over there, okay? They're like, yeah, okay. So, okay, it's literally a trance, right? Guys that are really, really good socially, good at their dating life, they're very, very good at not absorbing the trance, like, oh, it's the princess, right? They're good at generating the trance, generating the party. They set the party. They are the troll. Stop getting trolled and become the troll. You see what I'm saying? Now, when I say troll, I'm saying that as an exaggerated language. In other words, there's always these reality tunnels that are being created with different, and it's a reality tunnel that has its own frame. Within the reality tunnel, there's its own rules, its own moods, its own sense of identity of who you are, right? So one reality tunnel is like, we are the collective. The Japanese emperor is the living god. Kamikaze, right? And that is a trance. Like in that rule, that is a trance. There's another trance. I'm American. I live in my phone. I take drugs. I'm completely selfish. Don't ask me the time because you have no clout and I live in a transactional world about me. And unless this benefits me, you don't get to know the fucking time. Okay, that's not all of America, but that's in a lot of the Democrat cities. And you will see that when you go. Isn't that sad? I just saw the energy in the room drop because you guys know it's true, right? You know it's true, right? You're like, because it's weird. We get so used to that as being normal that we forget that's not normal. It's not normal that people don't just talk. It's not normal that I have to teach you all these clout-based type social skills to be able to talk to someone. That's not normal. Who did that? Who did that? I would recommend that you go visit Jekyll Island, okay? And see where the original World Economic Forum was. It's not even that far of a drive from here, guys. Go visit Jekyll Island and learn about the history.
What do you think are some of the reasons that I brought you here?
Because it's very historical.
Yeah, what else?
It's very green and lush, and it's also a great place to explore the South.
It's that, but it's also a lot of the people who created the reality that you live in would hang out here. Okay, so there's something right now called the World Economic Forum where a lot of rich people meet up. This was like the older version of that. So what can happen is you can actually see the people who created the world that you live in, where they would hang out, where they'd socialize, just to make it real to you that they're human beings too, that you could be a creator of your world, not just a consumer of your world. Got it?
Got it.
We're at Jekyll Island right now. The Jekyll Island Club is where they created the Federal Reserve, met in secrecy. What are those conspiracies that's real? Basically, the richest people in the world would come down here, and they would all meet up. Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, Morgan. So you can see what their summer homes actually look like. It's where they created the Federal Reserve. It's why your money's all messed up.
Include J.P. Morgan and his son Jack, J.P. Morgan Jr., William Rockefeller. That is going to be the house's carriage steps. So that's basically how you get on and off your horse-drawn carriage without having to step up too high or down too low. This was a giant playground for the Gould sons. In here they had literally anything they wanted, which included an indoor shooting range, a tennis court, and a bowling alley. The most prominent physicians of the era. He attended to clients like President Ulysses S. Grant, and he was also present at the autopsy of President Garfield following his assassination. Then we have the stock market crash of 1929 and the subsequent Great Depression. The club had also developed a pretty bad habit of not paying their taxes. So in 1947, they had racked up a bill of over $500,000.
We're in the Federal Reserve Room, and this is where they decided to create fiat currency. It's a complicated issue. I'm giving the short version of it. So Dylan, tell the camera what room this is.
Federal Reserve.
Come on, buddy. Let's use some vocal projection.
Federal Reserve.
Yeah, so what do they do here? What do they create?
I'm not sure.
The fake dollar. Where did they make that decision?
I don't know.
Right here in this room, they made that decision to make your currency fake. So all those dollars that you own, worthless. Why? Because the decision made right here in this room. Got it?
Got it.
You'll understand someday. Okay.
Likewise, go see the Vanderbilt mansion. Go see, not like, yo, I'm like, and to be honest, I'm one of them. Yo, I'm a wealth influencer on Instagram. I got a Hollywood Hills crib that I rent and a watch. Woo, okay? Go see real money. Go look at the Vanderbilt Museum. Like, go see that. You will see pure money, where every square foot of that is worth more than all of our net worth combined. Money upon money upon money. That is when transactional, pure selfishness hits the highest levels, okay? And hits into levels that it obscures God from even entering into them, and they go to very, very dark places. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So I'd recommend that you actually go see the Vanderbilt, the Biltmore. Okay, go see that. Amazing to go see. Highly recommend that you go see it. Now, from there, what I'd also say is, like, understand real wealth, understand the nature of total transactional trance, and begin to recognize the trance that people are actually in. Okay. Now, what happens is when you are basically what it is. Here's what I would tell you. People will complain and say, "Oh, I can't make money." That is BS. It is the easiest time to make money in all of human history right now. Now you're watching the news. You're like, inflation? Biden? Joe Biden? Okay. Yeah, like weekend at Bernie's. Joe Biden? Okay. If you knew about that a long time, finally they did the debate. Everyone's like, wait a minute, it's weekend at Bernie's. And it gets an old movie from the 80s where they carry around a corpse. So basically, Joe Biden, inflation, you got to understand, even with that, 200 years ago, you had to have a brick and mortar. you had to have real assets. You couldn't just make money right now. Like, you couldn't just make money easily right now. The phone is illegally spying on you, and every niche interest that you have, you're going to wind up seeing show up in your feed. You ever just have like random private conversations with your friends and the videos start randomly coming up in your feed? And the AI is getting smarter and smarter, maybe even sentient now, I don't know. Pretty scary stuff, pretty fascinating stuff. So what you're going to find is, like, if you just live in one town and you have something that would sell to maybe only 5 people in the whole town, with niche marketing, with spying on the phone, there could be 5 people in Nashville, 5 people in Atlanta, 5 people in Charlotte, 5 people in Charleston, 5 people in Savannah, 10 people in New York, 10 people in LA, and you've got a business. That's my business, right? If I only did seminars just out of Ottawa, Canada, I wouldn't have a business. But because I can niche market using social media and social media tools, it'll reach every last person who likes these topics, and you have literal AI machines spying on people, keeping entire files on them so that you can get to that person. So you're telling me that like 100 years ago, you would have needed to maybe have like a real farm. That's real work. Like a farm. You know how hard a farm is? 100 years ago, how hard a farm is? That's work. You wouldn't have like an AI spy bot where you could have some inferior product, but that as long as you could find 5 people per city, the AI god inside your phone would go find those people and help you to sell it. Kind of scary stuff, right? Mark of the beast. You know what I'm saying? So as a result of that, it's easier than ever to make money. But not only that, again, watch Century of the Self, the population has been dumbed down.
Freud began to write about group behavior, about how easily the unconscious aggressive forces in human beings could be triggered when they were in crowds. Freud believed he had underestimated the aggressive instincts in human beings. They were far more dangerous than he had originally thought.
After World War I, Freud was basically a pessimist. He felt that man is an impossible creature, a very, very sadistic and bad species, and did not believe that man can be improved. Man is a ferocious animal, the most ferocious animal that exists. They enjoy torturing and killing, and he didn't like man.
The publication of Freud's works in America had an extraordinary effect on journalists and intellectuals in the 1920s. What fascinated and frightened them was the picture Freud painted of submerged, dangerous forces lurking just under the surface of modern society. Forces that could erupt easily to produce the frenzied mob which had the power to destroy even governments. It was this they believed had happened in Russia. To many, this meant that one of the guiding principles of mass democracy was wrong. The belief that human beings could be trusted to make decisions on a rational basis. The leading political writer, Walter Lippmann, argued that if human beings were in reality driven by unconscious, irrational forces, then it was necessary to rethink democracy. What was needed was a new elite who could manage what he called the bewildered herd. This would be done through psychological techniques that would control the unconscious feelings of the masses.
So here you have Walter Lippmann, probably the most influential political thinker in the United States, who is essentially saying that the basic mechanism of the mass mind is unreason, is irrationality, is animality. He believes that the mob in the street, which is how he sees ordinary people, are people who are driven not by their minds but by their spinal cords. The notion of kind of animal drives, unconscious instinctual drives lurking beneath the surface of civilization. And so they started looking towards psychological science as a way of understanding the mechanisms by which the popular mind works, specifically with the goal of figuring out how to understand how to apply those mechanisms to strategies for social control.
Edward Bernays was fascinated by Lippmann's arguments and also saw a way to promote himself by using them. In the 1920s, he began to write a series of books which argued that he had developed the very techniques Lippmann was calling for. By stimulating people's inner desires and then sating them with consumer products, he was creating a new way to manage the irrational force of the masses. He called it the engineering of consent.
Democracy, to my father, was a wonderful concept, but I don't think he felt that all those publics out there had reliable judgment, and that they very easily might vote for the wrong man or want the wrong thing, so that they had to be guided from above. It's enlightened despotism in a sense. You appeal to their desires and their unrecognized longings, that sort of thing. That you can tap into their deepest desires or their deepest fears and use that to your own purposes.
And then, in 1928, a president came to power who agreed with Bernays. President Hoover was the first politician to articulate the idea that consumerism had become the central motor of American life. After his election, he told a group of advertisers and public relations men, "You have taken over the job of creating desire and have transformed people into constantly moving happiness machines. Machines which have become the key to economic progress." What was beginning to emerge in the 1920s was a new idea of how to run mass democracy. At its heart was the consuming self, which not only made the economy work, but was happy and docile, and so created a stable society.
The population is so dumbed down that 2020 happened. And everyone's like, oh, wow. Okay, do you guys remember me in 2020? I was chilling. And be like, how come you're not tripping? I'm like, this is just a reality. Guys, we're being trolled. This is a reality tunnel. Because I am a creator of reality tunnels. Do you guys remember at the start of that? You'd see people in videos that were keeling over, dying on the spot. How come nobody talks about that anymore? Do you guys remember that? Yes. There was videos of people just walking down the street and they would just go, and they would die. And we're like, whoa! And then in China, they're like fumigating everything in hazmat suits. You remember this? Yeah. Trolling of the millennium. So crazy, right? You got trolled, son. That doesn't mean that everything there was fake. There was a lot of things that were true that were happening, but the response to it was a troll. And, you know, a couple years later, you know, it's funny, the useful idiots wind up getting, you know, in trouble for all their purveying of that information. It's super crazy stuff. But anyway, you got to realize, like, we are entering into a reality where what you're going to see is the wheat is now going to be separated from the chaff, because what's in effect happening is you have people that are easily trolled and people who don't get trolled. That's what it's going to come down to. You've got the masses that have been softened up into this very derpy, unconscious trance that you could just put anything in front of them and they'll just consume it and believe it, whether it's consumer goods or whatever. Like, do you understand something like McDonald's, how bad that is and how bad that tastes? And what they do is they put Ronald McDonald on it, they put little advertisement on it, and they get you to like it. They get you to like it. Like, the average really pretty girl in Hollywood is not even actually that attractive in some ways, like compared to girls that you see on the street. But they'll tell you that she's a 10. Like, you see girls prettier than Scarlett Johansson on the street every day, but they'll tell you that Scarlett Johansson is the perfect 10. They'll tell you that that tall, lanky model is the perfect 10. Look, these are beautiful women too. But it's not as though you don't see women like that on the street every day, but they'll tell you that that's the thing to get. They'll tell you that this watch is better. What's your watch brand again? Tissot? They'll tell you that the AP is better than the Tissot. And if you look at the AP sales process, you'll see what it is they're doing. You're being trolled. So what happens is, the reason why learning social skills is so hard is you have been trolled into a trance, and the trance that you've been trolled into is one of total self-obsession. So because you're completely self-obsessed, you are terrified of a bad response, terrified of not getting validation, terrified of not being affirmed. So as a result of that, you're afraid to talk to anybody. Also, because of the trance that you're in, the hose is kinked. If you stop being so self-obsessed and you came out of your head and cared about other people and not making them, but inviting them to have a good time, then all of a sudden you'd have endless things to say, and that is why my 11-year-old son can run a seminar. He's not thinking about himself, he's thinking about showing you guys a good time. So the hose is unkinked. So when you go out and you're like, oh, I can't talk and talk, it's because the hose is kinked, right? You've got to unkink the hose. You're not going to unkink the hose and become a pro public speaker or really good at socializing by learning a technique. You've got to actually shift the trance that you're in. Now, what happens is you will go from going out and meeting people being the hardest thing you've ever done to the easiest thing in the world when you shift the trance. You'll see it, okay? Likewise, you ever have it where you get sick and you loop on how bad you feel and it feels like there's a demon in your brain? How are you ever going to heal like that? I'm not giving medical advice, but just something I personally observed anecdotally for myself. Likewise, marketing and business. So in the same way, when you're in the derp trance of the consumer culture and the selfishness, by the it's very, very hard to socialize. By the way, in collectivist culture, it's even worse. I gave you a bomb right there. Let that land for a minute. I give you a bomb right there. When someone from an individualist culture goes into a collectivist culture, what is their dating life like? This is a bomb that I just dropped on you right now. This is a bomb I just dropped on you. This is a bomb. I gave you a bomb. What happens if you go, when you think about collectivist societies, what are the men typically like? What happens when a good old boy American goes over to a collectivist society? It is beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. That's why they're terrified of it. They're terrified of it because in a collectivist culture, you dim your light for the benefit of the collective. So some individualist who refuses to dim their light comes in. Yeehaw! It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Okay? Like you'll go to, like if you're from here and you go to one of those collectivist societies, I mean, when I say ridiculous,
can you give an example?
I want to post this, and the examples are so obnoxious that I can't post this. Like I've met like guys like just like regular guys like you. They're like 5,000, 10,000, like in 2-3 years. Like throwing up points on the scoreboard, like at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, at the gas station, on the street, in alleys, like just and I've seen that because I have friends. I'm like, you know, what's your experience like? And they're like, I mean, well, it's kind of not fair because I used to live in this country. I'm like, wow, why did you ever come back? Why did you ever come back, right? Because they're not used to confident, unstifled, right? What happens when you go out and you get unstifled? You kill it. In a collectivist society, they've often never even seen someone who's unstifled. They don't even know what that is. Imagine here when you get unstifled, how psycho you crush it. Imagine you go there. It is crazy. Shaming is so intricately intertwined in collectivism. Shame. Deep, I'm dropping bombs you guys right here. Deep, rotting shame. Rotting shames. And you get huge amounts of virgins. And then they watch like tentacle anime stuff. I'll just leave it at that, okay? If you know, you know. Yeah, because deep rotting shame, and they just give up. With collectivism, you always get that kind of thing, okay? With too much collectivism. But individualism has, you know, it's more like the world, you know, WALL-E, the cartoon movie WALL-E? Yeah. You know, like in some, like, just looking at their phone while they're consuming beer, like whatever they're doing, right? So individualists, they become psychotically obsessed with themselves. Collectivists, they become obsessed with the collective, but both lose their infinite nature. Both can lose their soul. They're being trolled by the powers that be. Is controlling their state of mind. So you've got to actively consider what trance state that you're in, and you've got to realize that, and then rather than just consuming the trance that's in front of you, like it's here, like a kid just eating their parents' food, you've got to begin to curate your own trance, and rather than being trolled, become the troll. But by become the troll, I'm saying that as a joke. What I mean is create something beautiful, create a reality channel that's beautiful and empowering, and invite others to it. Is what I really mean. Okay, when I'm saying become the troll. I'm just saying that to get you thinking, right? Well, I'm saying the word trolling because I want to anchor whenever someone's creating some crazy reality tunnel on you, not to just jump in. That's why I'm calling it trolling, right? Like when your significant other starts complaining and saying you suck, you don't have to believe that, okay? When they tell you the emperor is a living god, you don't have to believe that. 2020, you know where I'm going with this, okay? So, isn't this crazy when you think about it? Isn't this crazy? Again, you want to see this at peak insanity, peak demonic insanity. Netflix, World War II, Greatest Events in Color. Netflix, World War II, Road to Victory. I'm telling you, you cannot watch anything else till you watch these, because you will see mass formation psychosis at the highest freaking level. Okay, you'll see this guy, his name is like Goebbels, like this minister of propaganda. Was that his name? The propaganda minister, and he's like, we are going on total war, every man, woman, child. They're like, yeah. It's crazy, okay? And regular people are getting pulled in this. And what's scary is, like it says in the Bible, don't judge the chip in your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own eye. For as long as you're like, oh, that would never be me, it's you. Every single person goes, oh, I'd never do that. It's you. It's you. It's you. Okay? Because if you can't even consider that you could be brainwashed, then you're going to be brainwashed. If you say, no, I am subject to being brainwashed without knowing it, then you are less likely to be brainwashed because you can acknowledge it. Okay? If I have a girlfriend and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to meet some charismatic alpha male and go back to his house because I cheat. Well, some people will be like, so you're admitting you cheat? It would be the one who says, oh, I'd never cheat. That's the one who's going to cheat. The one's like, I would never do that. I am different, is the one that will cheat. The one who's like, yeah, I know that I would cheat, so I'm not going to go back to that charming alpha guy's house. She might get shamed for that. Well, you're admitting that you cheat? At least she knows. At least she's aware. Then she won't cheat, probably. Right? If you're like, no, don't put that bread on the table because I'm going to eat it. I'm on a low-carb diet. Well, how come you need it to be gone? Know thyself. It's when you're like, I could put the bread here. Well, actually, fuck it. Right? You just eat the bread. Okay? So now you wake up out of this trance and you're not so selfish anymore. You'll crush it socially. Well, same thing with business. Because you go from being the food to the eater. So what happens in business is you suddenly learn about sales copy, sales and marketing. And you realize that everybody's in this hyper selfish trance. Guys like John Carlton in Kick-Ass Copywriting Secrets of Marketing Rebel basically tracks the trance. So the eaters have tracked the trance of the eaten. They've tracked it. And basically what they've done is they've looked at every last little buying trigger in that person's selfish trance, and then they learn how to poke at it in this little dance called a sales ad. Guys, companies like Gunther Renker, who helped Tony Robbins to blow up, they did proactive skincare, things like that. These companies track that. So all that you have to do is come out of your selfish trance and think about other people and what trance they're in for a minute. You suddenly understand their trance, you know how to lead them, and that is where you see these insane movements happen. That's how you become a multi-millionaire, and so on and so forth. So you think that making money is hard until the reason it's hard is because you're too selfish. You're too selfish to understand what other people want. Look, okay, this is very subtle. What I'm explaining here is incredibly subtle. If I give you the names of the best marketing books today, and I come back in a week and I look at your feed, 99% of you in this room are still gonna be looking at garbage. Okay? I did my first $2 million launch at age, I believe it was around 26, 27. Okay? Self-made millionaire by mid-20s. Imagine being, 26, 27, having $2 million just show up in your bank. I put that right back in my company. But for a minute, before I put that back in my company, I was a millionaire. Now, for me to do that, I had to spend several years thinking about who? You guys. I had to think about you guys. I had to become obsessed. Was it with me? Was I obsessed with me? No. Who was I obsessed with? Us. Amazing content for you? But is making amazing content for you enough to get $2 million? No. What's amazing content for you also has to be paired with amazing marketing. So I tracked how you think. Now, when I'm even doing events like this, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm auditing my audience. I'm one of those teachers where I will go teach big audiences, small audiences, and every audience in between. Many of you guys in here have been learning from me for years. How well do I know you? How well do I know your problems? How well do I understand you? I know you. I know everything about you. I know a lot about many of you in this room right now. I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know you. As I sit here and get to know your problems, I'm able to speak to you in a way that other people can't. But here's the other thing. As I'm profiling you massively, I can then match that profile to other people who might watch my content. You ever been watching my content? You're like, how does this guy know that I have this problem? It's like this guy's reading my mind. How many of you guys ever feel like when I make a video, it's just for you as if I'm reading your mind? Put your hands up at that if you ever experienced that, okay? And you're like, how could he know the specificity of this problem? He's so niche, right? It's like so niche. Like, how does he know, like, what my house looks like, how I'm thinking, what my thought loops are? Because I teach people in real life and take them out and run events like this. So what happens is I'm getting to know you at the highest level. What I'm teaching you, I'm getting to know you. Well, if I know you better than anyone on this earth because I've picked a demographic and I've made that my domain to know that demographic, and I know you, I know your problems, I know how you think, I know what products and programs and teaching that you need, and then I even know how to market it to you, how am I not gonna win? How am I not gonna be rich? How? It's impossible. But guys say, I wanna be rich. Well, have you done that? Now, in addition, I also went to every self-help program I could find. I read every self-help book I could get my hands on. I'm like, you know, like how Wayne Gretzky was just always in hockey arenas all the time. He's playing hockey at the outdoor arena, outdoor rink, playing hockey in arenas. He's like a rink rat. You know, Kobe's like a gym rat. I'm a seminar room rat. You'll find me in every seminar room that you could think of. Any seminar room, I'm crawling around the back somewhere, talking to the staff, talking to the speaker at the front, bringing the speaker out for dinner because I know how to network well, getting to know his people, getting to meet the people at the seminar room. I'm a seminar room rat. I'm always in seminars. This is my life. I'm comfortable in seminar rooms, bars and clubs like social gatherings, and nature. I'm either up in a ski hill, a national park, nature somewhere, or I'm throwing parties, I'm crushing at the club, or I'm in a seminar room, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm studying you. Most of you guys are studying yourself. Me, it's me. It's me. Me, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm horny, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, I'm disrespected, I'm getting respected, I'm getting validation, I'm not getting validation. Me, I look cool. Me, I want finance. Me, I want drugs. Me. Right? That's your brain. Me. Okay? Me. It's me. Okay? An ongoing rap album of you. What's my trance? What kind of trance am I in right now? Am I sitting here thinking about my wants, my needs, or am I thinking how to serve you? Am I self-conscious up here even 0.1%? Why am I so crisp and clear and free associative and so on and so forth for the front of the room? Is it because I am self-conscious? Could you do this if you are self-conscious? You can't come up here and do what I can do because you're self-conscious. It's about you. How do I look? How do I look? Do I look cool? Me. How do I look? Me. How do I look? Me. How do I look? Right, that kills you out in the field, by the way. Kills you. You never get in that flow of just the flow of the game. You got to drop that, and get in the flow of the game. Okay? So what happens is that energy starts surging. The me, it cuts you off from your infinite nature. You can't speak from your soul. You can't socially interact from your soul. You can't market from your soul. You're just sick all the time and in scarcity all the time. And it's just so tight. You're in hell. You're in hell. Okay? The Bible teaches you all this. You're in hell while on this earth. Heaven on earth, hell on earth. Me. It's hell. Okay? Why is giving so important in the Bible? How do we get to heaven while alive? Think about this, okay? It's all in the Bible, by the way. It's all in the Bible, but your parasitic consciousness, me, won't even let you read it or study it, or you'll read it at a superficial level and not even get the freaking point. Oh, is it like Noah's Ark or something? Did Noah's Ark happen? Oh, okay. Instead of actually seeing read the Sermon on the Mount again and again and again until you see what is being said. So, what happens is you wake up out of the trance and suddenly you're now on the side of the equation where you're like, wait a minute, it's very easy to make money. It's a dumbed down, consumer brainwash, mass audience that is literally being just managed by the elites, right? So the elites have got everybody in this trance and then, but they're making ungodly amounts of money And then you kind of just come in and you just kind of put your own little fishing rod in this, like, it's kind of like, as if like an African animal made this giant pool that they could like drink out of and eat out of, but then a couple little small animals kind of come in and get a little shot out of it. That's you as an entrepreneur. You're basically dipping your beak into this like dumbed down consumer audience of people that can't even think straight, that are whacked out of their gourd. Whacked out of their gourd. But in saying this, I'm saying that paradoxically to challenge you, because you're the ones that are whacked out of your gourd. It's you. If I bring you guys up here, I start insulting you, you'll go out of state. You ever see me do those exercises where I bring people up, we do insult matches? You ever seen those? We frame control each other and fuck with each other? If you don't care and you're out of your head, you never get unstifled, you never get shut down, and you're loose and you can battle with the person and joke with them. Dylan can battle all day. He can battle with adults all day. You hit him with a zinger, he starts laughing, he's like, that was awesome. He thinks it's hilarious. But adults can't do it, they get offended. They're offended. By the way, they want you to be easily offended in that trance too. They want that because they want no release of tension. They hate comedy because they want no release of tension. That's what that whole scam is, okay? So basically what you're doing is they will use individualism or collectivism, extreme versions of it, to get you into a trance, and then you're cut off from God, and now you're in what's called the pimp-ho relationship of the elites and the masses. What is that? A pimp and a hoe are both miserable. There are no victims, there's only volunteers, okay? The masses will complain, oh, the elites are bad for me. But then you go look at their feed of what they're looking at and where they're spending their time. They're wasting all the time. They're doing more damage to themselves than some abstract Vanderbilt ever did. But likewise, the elites will say, we try to help these people. They're such sheep. They like it. And you need to understand what they're saying. Do you want to know what they're saying about you? You want to hear what they're saying about you? I'll show you what they're saying about you. Let's look at what they studied. Let us see what these people study. Here's what they think about you. What do they study in Freemasonry? The Kabbalion. Let's see the very first thing that it tells you in the Kabbalion. I'm trying to look for like a good reader. There's better readers than others. Let's see. So their little Freemasonry meetup. Let's see what they say. What do they think of you?
The Kabbalion. A study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece by 3 initiates. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information...
This guy's with his accent even makes that sound cool. Okay, one second.
This little work based upon the world-old Hermetic teachings. There has been so little written upon this subject, notwithstanding the countless references to the teachings in the many works upon occultism, that the many earnest searchers after the arcane truths will doubtless welcome the appearance of this present volume. The purpose of this work is not the enunciation of any special philosophy or doctrine, but rather is to give to the students a statement of the truth that will serve to reconcile the many bits of occult knowledge that they may have acquired, but which are apparently opposed to each other, and which often serve to discourage and disgust the beginner in the study. Our intent is not to erect a new temple of knowledge, but rather to place in the hands of the student a master key with which he may open the many inner doors in the temple of mystery through the main portals he has already entered. There is no portion of the occult teachings possessed by the world which have been so closely guarded as the fragments of the Hermetic teachings which have come down to us over the tens of centuries which have elapsed since the lifetime of its great founder, Hermes Trismegistus.
By the way, the reason the masses can't read this is because there is a wall psychologically blocking them from reading it. Do you understand? It is a psychological wall. Have you ever noticed that if you give some of my better videos to your friends, they cannot watch it? They cannot watch it. This stuff hides in plain sight for a reason. Let's keep going.
The scribe of the gods, who dwelt in old Egypt in the days when the present race of men was in its infancy, contemporary with Abraham, and, if the legends be true, an instructor of that venerable sage, Hermes was and is the great central sun of occultism, whose rays have served to illumine the countless teachings which have been promulgated since his time. All the fundamental and basic teachings embedded in the esoteric teachings of every race may be traced back to Hermes. Even the most ancient teachings of India undoubtedly have their roots in the original Hermetic teachings. From the land of the Ganges, many advanced occultists wandered to the land of Egypt and sat at the feet of the master. From him they obtained the master key, which explained and reconciled their divergent views, and thus the secret doctrine was firmly established. From other lands also came the learned ones, all of whom regarded Hermes as the master of masters, and his influence was so great that in spite of the many wanderings from the path on the part of the centuries of teachers in these different lands, there may still be found a certain basic resemblance and correspondence which underlies the many and often quite divergent theories entertained and taught by the occultists of these different lands today. The student of comparative religions will be able to perceive the influence of the Hermetic teachings in every religion worthy of the name now known to man, whether it be a dead religion or one in full vigour in our own times. There is always certain correspondence in spite of the contradictory features, and the Hermetic teachings act as the great reconciler. The life work of Hermes seems to have been in the direction of planting the great seed truth, which has grown and blossomed in so many strange forms, rather than to establish a school of philosophy which would dominate the world's thought. But nevertheless, the original truths taught by him have been kept intact in their original purity by a few men in each age, who, refusing great numbers of half-developed students and followers, followed the Hermetic custom and reserved their truth for the few who are ready to comprehend and master it.
You're seeing here the psychology of these people, okay? The psychology is you're fucking animals. Do you understand? They view you as vulgar, disgusting animals. Do you understand? All right.
From lip to ear, the truth has been handed down among the few. There have always been a few initiates in each generation in the various lands of the earth who kept alive the sacred flame of the Hermetic teachings, and such have always been willing to use their lamps to relight the lesser lamps of the outside world when the light of truth grew dim and clouded by reason of neglect, and when the wicks became clogged with foreign matter. There were always a few to tend faithfully the altar of the truth, upon which was kept alight the perpetual lamp of wisdom. These men devoted their lives to the labour of love, which the poet has so well stated in his lines. Oh, let not the flame die out, cherished age after age in its dark cavern, in its holy temples cherished, fed by pure ministers of love, let not the flame die out. These men have never sought popular approval,
Listen closely.
nor numbers of followers. They are indifferent to these things, for they know how few there are in each generation who are ready for the truth, or who would recognise it if it were presented to them. They reserve the strong meat for men, while others furnish the milk for babes. They reserve their pearls of wisdom for the few elect, who recognise their value and who wear them in their crowns, instead of casting them before the materialistic vulgar swine who would trample them in the mud and mix them with their disgusting mental food. But still these men have never forgotten or overlooked the original teachings of Hermes regarding the passing on of the words of truth to those ready to receive it, which teaching is stated in the Kabbalion as follows. Where fall the footsteps of the Master, the ears of those ready for his teaching open wide. And again, when the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom. But their customary attitude has always been strictly in accordance with the other Hermetic aphorism, also in the Kabbalion. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. There are those who have criticised this attitude of the Hermetists and who have claimed that they did not manifest the proper spirit in their policy of seclusion and reticence. But a moment's glance back over the pages of history will show the wisdom of the masters, who knew the folly of attempting to teach to the world that which it was neither willing nor ready to receive. The Hermetists have never sought to be martyrs, and have instead sat silently aside with a pitying smile on their closed lips, while the heathen raged noisily about them in their customary amusement of putting to death and torture the honest but misguided enthusiasts who imagined that they could force upon a race of barbarians the truth capable of being understood only by the elect who had advanced along the path. And the spirit of persecution has not as yet died out in the land. There are certain Hermetic teachings which, if publicly promulgated, would bring down upon the teachers a great cry of scorn and revilement from the multitude, who would again raise the cry of crucify, crucify. In this little
Now, what you're seeing here is their attitude towards you. They love this. They love this, okay? I've got clients in these circles. They love this stuff. Now, what have you done personally to prove them wrong? How can you argue? But there's different, now, in effect, this ideology is very complex and nuanced, but one of the main ideologies is that you're absolutely at the cause. You are absolutely at the cause. Reality is a mirror. Now, I would take that a step further and say, we get parasitic consciousness overlays that are in us. It's a parasitic consciousness that, and I do not have time to explain this today, but I have many other videos covering it, that in effect runs as a flywheel. And so, you know, say somebody is like, my mental model of this is that God's light is so strong, and we are all drug addicts to get away from God's light. And so what we do is we find a way to hide from God's light. And what we do is we say, I'm a victim, distraction, dopamine spike. A drug addict, if you actually think about it, is the hardest working person you've ever seen. Because what they're doing is they're like, I will hide from God. I can't just hide from God with like pop culture, like, you know, a Britney Spears video and a 6-pack of booze, right? I'm gonna hide from God in a needle of heroin, right? Like they are trying to hide from God the most, because what happens is you have this natural drip of present energy from God. And this is just my view. And what happens is that whenever you go in just the physical, it actually allows you to hide from God. So in other words, when you're getting what you want too much, the physical is so enticing that you no longer need to stay present. It actually cultivates bad mental habits, okay? Think about it. All the worst times of your life, if you understood ideas like the power of now by Eckhart Tolle, basics like that, you said to yourself, wait a minute, I've got to stay present through this process. So it was actually the pain in your life that helped you. This broken leg was acceleration for me for getting present because it was excruciatingly painful. I minimized all painkillers in doing so. And I sat there for a week in the hospital in excruciating pain. How much do you think that helped me spiritually? Being in excruciating pain in the hospital for a week. I knew it was happening. As I sat there breathing through the pain, I was like, wow, this is really, really, really cool. I'm really, really, really advancing here. This is so much better than me just being in pleasure. So the vulgar mental food is those who can only find pleasure in the physical world and feel that they're at the effect of that pleasure, not realizing the creator that you are, not realizing your infinite nature, not understanding how to tap into higher levels of intuition, higher levels of consciousness, missing that, not understanding how to tap into a transcendent state on your own. So the elites, what they do is they have so much pleasure, they have been trolled by the devil. The devil has trolled them and said, we'll give you mansions, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you the other thing. And then they start giving them, you know, when that's not enough, when the built more isn't enough, that's when they start taking the strong medicine, the dark stuff, okay? And so what happens is, the more that they're disconnected from God, it starts with just physical pleasure, egoic gratification, winning, and so on and so forth. But then it gets into, oh, that's not enough, right? It's like someone who maybe just likes, you know, a little bit of missionary position type intimacy. But by the time they're done, they got to watch the midget banging the donkey. You know what I'm saying, right? Well, with pleasure, they get to the point where like more pleasure won't even do anything for them. They want to do absolute control. Absolute control. Absolute control. And then to allow that dark energy to spread that trauma into the innocent. In some cases, not every rich person, but use your understanding I'm giving you here, okay? Now, what happens then is that the masses want to stay asleep. So the masses stay asleep via being on autopilot. Repeat that after me, autopilot. Autopilot. And being numb. Being told what to do. Fighting identity externally. Right? Like you're in the blitzkrieg. You know what I mean, right? Like, go! As opposed to, no, your infinite nature is who you are. These people that you're attacking are your friends. They're an extension of you. You should never hurt another human being. But they troll entire populations into believing this. 2020, all this kind of stuff. It's absolute extreme versions of trolling. So they troll you into a specific state of trance, right? When I'm sitting here and I'm running this event this weekend, I'm trolling you. And in fact, what I'm doing, but I'm trolling you for good, right? I'm trolling you to get present, to get out of your head. Even just with what I'm showing you here, I often ask the audience this, do you feel like right now you're not just like like this is more real than what you've been doing? Do you feel like this is like the real? Is that a feeling that you're getting? It's like, this is the real. Like, this is the real, right? You've been getting trolled, and my version of trolling you is I'm going, there's all these like reality tunnels that you're being put down, and I'm going, hey, stop. Like, I'm pulling you out. Hey, this is a reality tunnel. Get back to base consciousness. Now, what you'll understand is that human beings, what they would teach in Christianity is that, and this would be my interpretation of it, mine, which you could have a different interpretation, because there's many. We basically have a place in our mind, like in the same way that we supposedly have a place in our mind for THC, for weed, which I think that's, I'll leave that alone. But anyway, we have a place in our mind for God. And what happens is that, like in the book of Exodus, when they create a golden calf and they worship a golden calf, like worshiping a watch, worshiping some stupid ass celebrity, what they want to do is they want to get it to where you worship, whether it's Britney Spears or a watch or a car or whatever, right? That takes the place of God. Now, in saying this, what I mean is we have an intimate relationship with the things that we think about on a loop. Okay, so if on a loop you're thinking me, it's me, right? You're in that intimate, erotic type relationship with yourself. You're basically banging yourself, right? If you're having sex with somebody, you're thinking about, and you're actually like erotic with them, and their energy is really in you, and your tongue is in their mouth, their tongue's in your mouth. You're inside of each other intimately. You're really like in their energy, right? Well, when you're not hooking up with somebody, often what you're doing is you're intimate just with this ego that you have running, right? That ego trolls you from being connected to your infinite self. It actually actively trolls you. And then it pulls you further and further down. Now, then what'll happen is then as you get more nice things, if you go up, so what'll happen is one of two things. Follow this, okay? In the same way that they get you with toxic individualism or toxic collectivism, like on either way they get you. You see that? Individualists, gotcha, bitch. Collectivists, gotcha, bitch. With getting things, me, you either get it, what'll happen is either A, they get you by rendering you unconscious because you're so obsessed with yourself that you can't market, you can't create things, you're obsessed with yourself, you can't socialize, you suck. I mean, by the way, when you're on the other side of this, it looks scary. Like when you're on the other side of this and you see how socially blind people are and how stuck in their own heads they are, it looks freaking psycho. It looks insane and you're like, you're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful being, you have an infinite consciousness, but they're so stuck in their mind that you just see them choked out. The oxygen's been choked out by the trance they're in, okay? Then what winds up happening, that moment when you're realizing you're in the middle of a fucking historical making speech. Okay, so the oxygen, you guys don't even realize where you are right now, do you? Do you understand even where you are at this second? They're gonna be watching this shit forever, okay? And you're sitting in some fucking room in Nashville, you're like, oh, you don't even know where the fuck you are. Okay, so, sorry, me. Okay, so, because like look at that correlation, right? They get you everywhere. You're collectivists, they get you. Individualists, they get you. Me. Okay. They suck the oxygen out of you. Me. Wait. Okay, so you do use that to become a better marketer and to get at money, and to be, rather than being an Eden, you become an eater. You become the pimp in the pimp-ho relationship. They get you because statistically speaking, what goes up must come down. You guys understand that? Whatever goes up must come down. Okay, like my ski injury, if me skiing has about a 1 in say 1,000 chance of injury, that's that dice that I roll. If you driving a car has a 1 in 5,000 chance of getting killed in a car accident, that's that dice you roll. If on an extended enough timeline, every bad thing that can happen will happen. The secret to life is that you have to mitigate that. You can't eliminate risk, you can't. But you can't eliminate risk, but you can mitigate it by choosing things that have a lesser risk profile as opposed to a greater risk profile, or you take a greater risk in a calculated way. I took a greater risk, I broke my leg. But many people who ski do not. So understand that what goes up must come down eventually. Just statistically, what can happen will happen. So if you're getting given all these good things, you get seduced to identify with those things. Later, they come down and you get pain. So that which you get pleasure from externally at some point generates pain, right? Whatever pleasure you're getting and they'll teach you this in Kabbalah, has a pendulum, okay? There's a pendulum to whatever external pleasure that you get. So you have to gain enjoyment just from the process itself. It's all in the Bhagavad Gita. It's all in Holy Scripture. Anything other than this, you're fucked. Anything other than this, you're spinning your tires in the mud. It's this flurry of pointless activity. It's just a bunch of activity, just a bunch of stuff happening that amounts to nothing. A bunch of stuff happens, amounts to nothing. I went into this, I went into that. Yeah, but later you're pissed. Think of all the girls that you date in your life where you're so happy and later you're pissed. What was it? Just stuff. Just the crap pile of stuff that happened that has no meaning whatsoever. But that taught you not to find pleasure in the external world and got you back to yourself. If you took that as a lesson, you become bitter or better. If you said, oh, the girl's gone, I'm mad, bitter. If you said, you know what, this connects me more deeply to myself, better. Got it? Bitter or better at every junction. If you keep choosing better, because it gets you back to center, gets you back grounded, rocket ship. This physical experience, rocket ship, liftoff point. That's what the world is, by the way. Spoiler alert, okay? That's where you are. That's what's happening to you. Spoiler alert. You're like, anyway, where's my pizza, okay? Now, because you're so trolled, you're mega trolled, okay? Now, basically what happens is then high vibe energy wants to spread, low vibe energy wants to spread. So what happens is we have a space for God where we can allow that high vibe energy to come into us, right? And it's like a seed just germinating, and it takes root in you. And when you call it down, it's like there's sort of like a metaphysical wall, and you have to call it down. You have to want it, and it begins to drill down, and it drills through the block, and you start getting little insight, and you start kind of waking up a little bit. And what happens is they call that the Holy Spirit in Christianity, and it enters into you. And you're moving not through just the intellect. You're operating not just from intellect. It's just happening. You're just along for the ride, okay? But you have to call that in yourself. And I'm just giving you my perspective. And then conversely, and then what happens then is that now what you worship, what you are intimately connected to, is the Holy Spirit. In other words, what that is it is, and you call it whatever you want. You call it the flow state if you want to. Worship the flow state. Call that whatever you want. The witnessing consciousness in Eastern philosophy. You call it whatever you want. But I don't care. Don't get hung up on that, please. But what happens is now you're operating at a whole different level. Higher levels of intuition, higher levels of discernment, because you're not seeing life through the lens of a parasite. The parasite is trying to stay alive by limiting what you can perceive, and it's taking control of your will. The parasite hijacks your will. The parasite hijacks your discernment. The parasite makes you believe that you need things outside yourself to reach a transcendent state, what is actually already in you. The kingdom of God is already in you. Has to be understood, okay? There's no intermediary. I'm not intermediary. Church is not intermediary. You have direct access, okay? Now, in effect, what happens is that is the only way not to be mega trolled. Okay? Otherwise, the devil comes and mega trolls you and takes you for a fucking ride. Like a ride, baby. Like mega trolled. Like imagine like a roller coaster. You're like, ah! You know, right? It's like you're going through the little things like, rah! You're like, whoa, rap, whoa. You know, right? Like it's a mega troll ride. You ever feel like you're just on a mega trolled roller coaster ride? That's because you've lost your center. So understand, take the time to actively become hyper aware of the trance that you're in. Be aware of how they gain influence over you. And realize there's a pimp-ho dynamic between the elites and the masses, and what you've got to ride is the narrow road. Make the amount of money that is appropriate to your needs, what you want, your legacy of love, enjoyment, and giving. Don't focus on having money to have power over other people in comparison. Look, I have a part of me that just wants to dominate everything, of course. We all have that. We all want to go dominate and just make money, and just piss in everybody's fucking face that doubted us and win, right? We all have that. But at the end of the day, your body will die, their bodies will die. What does it matter what they thought or how you stacked up to them? You've got to get back to center. And when you do, you'll find things like genuine human interaction have value to you. That little Keanu Reeves moment will have value to you. Art will have value to you because the act of creation. Pets will have value to you. Real friendship has value to you. Love has value to you. Children have value to you. Nature has value to you because you want to see God's creation and you also want to see other people's creations and other people's what they created, but you also want to create. So now all of a sudden you want to create things, but not things that drag society down. You want to create things that are beautiful and maybe use niche marketing to get that out there. You also want to meet people, make genuine connections because now you're coming from the soul and that feeds your soul. That becomes the trance that you're in. The trance changes. So become aware of, again, the pimp-ho relationship, at least to the masses. Study carefully. Century of the Self is the starting point. Mike Ben's the starting point. But study that very, very, very carefully. The trance actively that you're in, what they did, why they put you in this trance, why they believe that you're filthy animals that need to be managed, how they control you. Stop blaming them. There's no victims, there's only volunteers. If you keep feeding this and keep just, buying their shit and not saying no to that system, well, that's on you. I would also recommend things like meditation, read the Bible, go to nature, and even do things like, a really big thing is challenge yourself to just enjoy walking down the street. Challenge yourself to just go enjoy walking through a park. Turn your phone off. Learn to get present. If you're in your dating life, actually enjoy the people that you're dating. Like challenge yourself to not just say, oh, I racked up another number on the scoreboard. No. Challenge yourself to truly enjoy the person that you're with deeply, deeply, deeply. Challenge yourself to enjoy the moment more deeply. Because at the end of the day, they put you in a trance that makes you believe that you'll find the infinite in breadth. More, you'll find the infinite. But can you? No. Because even if you live to 120 years, it's not long enough. It'll blow by. I can tell you it's a 44, it blows by. Where you find infinite is the depth. Create moments going like that. You can find the infinite now. Again. 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 It's in the now. Eckhart Tolle, power now. Why do I say that? It's in the now. The access point to the divine is now. It's not get more stuff than transcendent state. Get a bigger ego, better reputation. Then we can feel good. It's now, and now, and now, and now, and now, and now, and now. And when we do that, we open the portal to an energy beyond ourselves. And you'll feel it running you. I don't come up and do a speech. Just open the portal, and I go all crazy, right? I just go, I don't worry what I'm gonna say before I come to an event. I just show up, feel the room, feel, I think, what's needed for the room, and share. That's what I'm doing. You will never reach an elite level doing it yourself. You will never do it yourself. It won't be just you that does it, right? Sometimes you'll hit walls in life that are so great, you have to go to God. You'll hit walls where you can't do it alone. And that limitation that you hit, that is actually meant to teach you something. And you break down and you say, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this myself. The me. Okay, and own your power of you individually, because you're creating the image of God. So you have power individually, but we are also antennas that give out energy and receive energy. So you have that in you. Turn up the fucking antenna. Let it come down, let it move through you. That is the trance that I'm trying to show you. Okay? Now, again, it's such a shame that you don't hear this from home. When you hear my voice, I'm on 4 or 5 hours sleep today because I've been traveling, I've been all over this out with my kids. How's my energy? What does my energy sound like being here versus at home? So people at home could hear it. What does it sound like?
8 hours. You are meth.
I'm the meth. Yeah. But you see how I'm using the energy? Right now this limited tool will cap it, right? How do you feel the energy shift being here in the room?
Massive.
Okay? Now, by the way, if I wanted to be a nasty little troll, how bad can I troll you?
As hard as you want.
Well, can you see why I've done over 100 million in sales?
Yeah.
Just by talking? Can you see why?
Yeah.
They don't teach you this in marketing school, right? Hook, subheadline, sandwich authority, features, benefits, right? Like that's valuable too. I love that stuff. Amazing, but they don't teach you this. So this is something that you learn also to build a beautiful product, but you've got to believe in that product and then use it for good. So this is also real leadership, okay? In other words, what I mean is we're gonna need in the future leaders that are not getting fucking trolled, right? That don't just get trolled by a political divide. Leaders that can see through the fucking trolling and see a vision from God, can see a vision of the future. By the way, the movie Dune, actually, do you know the whole idea is Paul Atreides actually shows the downside of believing in a charismatic leader, by the way, okay? So charisma, just because the leader has charisma doesn't mean to follow them. But that said, okay, and you see it in Dune Messiah, they show the consequence of it. But that said, human beings, we resonate with leaders that are tapped in. Okay, we look to transcendent leaders who truly care about the people, transcendent leaders who see a vision through the cloud of bullshit. So the more that you can begin to see where you're being trolled, the more that you can begin to see the limitations of the paradigm that we're in socially, you see past those limitations, and you see what's possible. You become a visionary leader because you say, no, you will not troll me. I see the promised land, right? Martin Luther King, MLK. What did he see? I've seen over the mountaintop, yo. I get that quote right? I'm a big MLK fan. I don't know, I misquote the guy. Okay? Was that the quote? Let's get out of MLK. I want you to hear this. Okay? Visionary, this will be a good thing to wrap on. Visionary, after our disgusting Kabbalion.
Well, I don't know what will happen
Listen.
now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place.
He knew he was dead.
But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over. And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you. But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
He was able to see through the racism, the bullshit, the trolling, the nonsense, the garbage. Greatness is not just a technique, right? As a great speaker, it's not just a technique. Greatness is the capacity to see through the fucking trolling. Like, what he knew today is obvious. Racism is fucked. By the way, isn't it weird that somehow the left has adopted that cause when people on the political right are the ones that care about freedom, which is the opposite of slavery? Talk about being fucking trolled. What is the opposite of slavery? Freedom. Talk about being trolled. So he was able to see through the cloud. Things that are obvious to us decades later. But in that trolling of racism, they were in that reality where that was normal. And he was able to see that people will be judged by the content of their character. He was able to see through the trolling. He was able to see, like, people can be short and tall. Do we divide each other on short and tall? Do we divide each other on voice loudness? Well, other than this room. Why do we divide ourselves on some pigment? What the fuck is that? That is being fucking trolled. But he was able to, but even though that is obvious today, he was able to see through, he had to tap in. Notice he said he had to go to God to see through the fog. To see through the fog. That's leadership. Greatness is not defined just by the message. His message is, don't be racist. Okay. But it's contextually relevant in terms of the timeline. What was the trance of that time? What was the limited paradigm of that time? And the ability to see through the satanic sickness of that era and not be trolled. And everyone's all in the satanic sickness. Go, hey, wait. We're being fucking trolled, guys. We're being trolled. We don't have to hate each other. We're being fucking trolled. And he sees through it, and he just sees, and the light, again, in the fog, you're blind, right? He goes to God, cuts through the fabric of metaphysical reality, pulls open light, and the fog just clears. And that which should be obvious becomes apparent. That is how humanity reaches the next level. Future speakers, future leaders, future visionaries will understand this. They will understand when they're being fucking controlled, and they will see a vision from God, see through the mist, and lead society forward. But you can't be in a trance state of me. You can't just be stuck in this fucking loop. You have to get out of the loop. You have to consciously curate your consciousness, your psyche, and your soul. Connect your soul. So I hope that you guys are feeling very, very present right now. I hope you guys are inspired. That's all I have to say today. Well, thank you guys very much for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you guys. Awesome. Thank you guys very much.